important introduction by Mr. Bayraktar, emphasizing a lot of transitions in energy market. We would like to continue our conference with distinguished participants that will emphasize different perspectives of energy transitions, both from Turkey and Japan. So first, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Nobuo Tanaka, who is the chairman of the Sasakawa Peace Foundation, and as in the beginning he emphasized, he was also the director of International Energy Agency, and he is a very distinguished career that I don't have to emphasize more and take your time. So the floor is yours, Mr. Tanaka. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much for introducing me. I will use my slide here. Already, Deputy Minister challenged me very good question. What will be the price like if this crisis happened 10 years ago? When I was elected as the executive director, the price of oil went to as high as $147 per barrel. So it could have been my job as the executive director. I never predict any price level because I know I will be wrong. But I'm very free to say anything. The price could be much, much more than $200 per barrel if that crisis happened at that time. I was always asked by the journalist, when, Mr. Tanaka, are you going to release stockpile in 2008? But we rejected. It's simply because at that time the price went high, but it's not because of the disruption, but it's because of the China's growth. So it's more the structural reasons. Demand grew so fast that supply didn't catch up. That's the reason. So IEA didn't release stockpile because it's a long-term structural issue. Just that they release doesn't really change this structure. But if this crisis happened, we should have done it. And also, I released stockpile in the Libyan crisis to prevent the precautionary hike, and it was sustained very well. Fatih Bureau last week, 2 weeks ago, released this World Energy Outlook 2019. The main message is exactly what the Deputy Minister said, why the price is so calm, even with so many disruptions and the geopolitical problems. And another thing is, well, CO2 emission is still continuing. How could we achieve this Paris Accord for sustainability and energy access to the poor countries? But this new stated policy scenario gives us a lot. By the way, already IEA answered 3 years ago, the Fatih Bureau's World Energy Outlook 2017 said there are 4 revolutions happening. One is the first shale revolution in the Northeast, North America. The Deputy Minister exactly said that United States will be the largest producer of oil and now the largest exporter of oil. So the dominant status of the US changed dramatically. The current supply situation, and the price is very stable. Back to this slide, the second revolution is the solar photovoltaic. IEA declared that solar will be the cheapest source of energy in the future. And this really surprised me because renewable and solar was very, very expensive 5 years ago. Now IEA says it will be the cheapest. So this will certainly impact other sources like gas or coal even, and nuclear, because nuclear power is very expensive. I'll touch upon that later. And the third revolution is China's green revolution. China is using renewables and as well as nuclear to change their structure of climate and solve the problem of air pollution. The sky of Beijing is much, much blue now than before. And the fourth revolution is this electrification, using the renewables or cheap sources of energy, and using AI, digitalization, electric vehicle. So out of these four revolutions, the latter three revolutions are mainly in China. In the United States is the first one. So these two largest users of energy are moving toward totally different direction. The US is more fossil fuel, energy dominance strategy by fossil fuel, but China is trying to move away from this fossil fuel dominance by using renewables and revolution of this industrialization. So this geopolitical disparity is the very important feature of the energy sector, what each individual country will do. The Turkey, Japan, Europe, what we should do with energy strategy is a key issue for sustainability and security. And the fifth revolution I will touch upon is the more driven by the demand side. The companies are now, the banks are investing into more ESG, green, or socially acceptable investment. And companies are moving away from fossil fuel for the future. So if these companies, global corporations are asking to that direction, not many global players will buy electricity generated by coal. So this kind of demand side driven transformation is, I think, is a fifth revolution. I will move quickly what IA is saying. This is the shale will stay longer and will continue to grow. This year's IEA's World Energy Outlook sees the shale's potential much higher than last year. And share of OPEC plus Russia will decline in the future. So this is how strong the shale is that this year's outlook. Some time ago, IEA forecast where the Middle East oil goes. In the future, it will mainly to China, India. And the important thing is United States will no longer need oil from Middle East. So their concern about the Middle East or Persian Gulf is much less in the future. While China, India must concern about it. And together with Persian Gulf, if Strait of Hormuz be blocked, it is an issue of 60 million barrels per day. And this is a huge crisis for such countries like Japan, China, India, or Korea. So these Asian players must prepare for the emergency. Will blockage or closure of Hormuz happens? Sasakawa Peace Foundation prepared 3 scenarios to close the Strait of Hormuz. First one is Iranian collapse. Second one is Saudi Arabian collapse. The third one is the cyber attack in the Persian Gulf. I don't get into too much details about these scenarios, but we have to prepare this situation. And 2 scenarios, Iranian, Saudi Arabia collapse, may lead us to a war between 2 countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia. So this is a really serious Middle East crisis we have to prepare. This is the oil price hike. IEA was created in 1974, and first release of oil in the Gulf War. The second is Hurricane Katrina in the Rita, and the third one is when I was IEA, the Libyan crisis. IEA has 1.6 billion barrels of stockpile. If 2 million barrels, like Libyan case, IEA can stand for 24 months. But the crisis of the recent one, the Houthis attack to Saudi Aramco is about 6 million barrels, and Hormuz Strait blockage is 60 million barrels. So IEA unfortunately cannot really cope with these huge crises. And important thing is, when I talk to Henry Kissinger, when I was elected, Henry Kissinger is the founding father of the IEA. So I talked with him about what I should do as a new executive director before I was elected in 2007. He said, your job is to get China and India to join the IEA as a major importer. So now Deputy Minister clearly understand and said before the meeting, India is now asking the membership to the IAEA. I failed to convince India when I was executive director, but now India asked to join the IAEA. This is very interesting. And China should join because United States is energy independent. Does US continue to need the IAEA? This is a very critical question. Mr. Trump doesn't like international body. Party Bureau is doing so good job to keep United States with IAEA, but I really respect his effort, but it is a very, very difficult job. So to get China and India into the IAEA is probably necessary to step. As the minister mentioned, yes, gas is moving to more China, India, or ASEAN countries, and China's approach is using pipeline and gas equally. An important thing we know that is China will be the largest importer of LNG, while United States will be the largest exporter of LNG. So these major players are fighting in the trade war, certainly impact the LNG market. So this is another security issues we have to seriously think about. Important message, China is seeking more security supply through pipeline and sea lane in a way to build more port facilities for their military or sea lane protection. Another element we have to know is that Russia is moving toward more Arctic, using their big tankers or nuclear icebreakers to protect their sea lane and secure the supply of LNG from Arctic or Yamal or Arctic 2 project. Pipeline, yes, important for Russia. Of course, run it through Turkey, and many European countries continue to buy Russian gas through pipeline, but Russia is also trying to expand to China. China is importing through pipelines. The Turkmenistan is the largest, but sooner the power of Siberia will come to play, and Russia will be a very important player, gas supplier to China. And there are some ideas of Northeast Asian gas pipeline network. Japan is not totally connected by pipeline to anybody. So my argument is Japan should play, we are importing LNG 100%, but we need probably in the future by the pipeline, at least some percentage for diversity of the sources. This is what Europe needs. Europe's contract will come down and their domestic production of gas come down, so they need new supplier. Who will supply gas to Europe? Yes, certainly American shale, Middle East, but also the stable supplier could be Russia as well. This chart of IEA's World Energy Outlook last year shows that Russia will continue to be a stable and reliable supplier to Europe together with new supplier to growing Asia. So this is the Russian strategy of supplier as a stable supplier in the future. And this is a chart of energy import ratio of gas in a vertical way, in a horizontal way, the oil import ratio. So blue countries in the right hand side of that and top is importer of oil and gas. Down in the green part is exporter of oil and gas. Japan, Korea is already 100% importer of oil and gas. We cannot move worse, we stuck in the top right. The US moves totally different direction. So the United States is more joining this exporters alliance, while China tried to use more renewables and reduce dependency to the oil and gas. This is China's geopolitical strategy rather than the sustainable strategy. Together it is, but China is geopolitically thinking about their dependency. This is the electrification, oil, electricity, this is what has been happened until now, but future is like this, electrification is the key. So electricity is how electricity is supplied is a very important element. And this is what IEA said this year's World Energy Outlook. The frequency, the stability of supply is the issue. Flexibility of the supply is the very important issue because renewables increase dramatically. Solar and wind will be the major source of electricity in the future. This is the new world energy outlook because the cost is coming down. Solar cost is coming down, battery cost is coming down, and China is investing huge part of the renewables for their own security. And this shows China's electricity generation capacity, mainly 80% of them are coming from renewables in the future. This chart shows how flexible the country must be, and stages going up for many countries. In Europe moves very fast. Japan stays very slow. This is a problem. Japan needs to increase more flexibility in the power market, otherwise we are in trouble. This is what Europe is trying to do. Europe is using more wind in the future. And this is the ENTSO-E map for 2018, and Turkey is linked to the ENTSO-E, the European electricity market. Turkey exports more than importing electricity. And this is a European kind of collective energy security and sustainability by using as much renewable as possible. In this chart, the largest exporter of electricity is France, using nuclear. The second largest exporter is Germany, using their renewable. The third one is Sweden, using their hydro and nuclear power. And the fourth one is Czech. Czech is using nuclear and coal. So this kind of mixed structure of electricity generation in the region, this European Energy Union is a very smart idea for security and sustainability. China is trying to do the same by making hub of China and try to develop into the other part of the world. There is a guy called Masayoshi Son of SoftBank who wants to connect grid line of Asia to Japan. The Russian president is saying this kind of link with Mongolia, Russia to Japan, or from China to Korea, that is the way of the future. It's a new European model into Asia. Problem of Japan is de-link, lack of connectivity in Japan. IEA recommended to Japan that if connectivity is weak, Japan may have a serious problem if some problem happens to any of the sources. And that happened in 2011, March 11th, when Tokyo Electric Fukushima Daiichi plant of the nuclear made a big accident after tsunami. They lost all the nuclear power. Eastern part of Japan had enough capacity but cannot transmit the electricity to the east because the connectivity between east and west are too weak. So connectivity in the power market is a very important element for security and using more renewables in the future. These 9 regional monopolies in Japan do not want to link the connectivity of the power grid. So unfortunately, Turkey has moved much further than Japan in that way to use cheap and to increase more security. This chart shows Japan is one of the highest cost country in the OECD. Russia is cheapest. Why don't we connect power line with Russia and Japan to increase security as well as sustainability? If Russian hydro can be imported to Japan, that is the way. I don't want to get too much, but we need technology. As Deputy Minister said, we need technology to make sustainability in the future. This IEA's chart of stated policy or as market as usual, policy and sustainable policy to achieve the sustainable development scenario, we need everything. This chart shows quite a lot of new technologies of solar, wind, but also efficiency, CCS. All of these must happen together and very quickly. I am the chairman of the group called ISEF, Innovation for Cool Earth Forum, and we recommended that the bending this CO2 emission curve quickly is very important. This forum was created by our Prime Minister, and we recommended all the things. One of the message of this ISEF this year is the leadership of women, because women are in general much in favor of green change. Maybe same in Turkey, I guess. And if women are more represented in the board of the corporations, these corporations invest more to the green revolution. So Japan, we recommend that maybe start more use of women, empowering women is good for climate change. TCFD is another thing. This is the task force for climate risk disclosure. I don't want to get into much, but this means banks will invest only those companies who disclose the risk of crime. And financial movement toward that direction, there are already 200 Japanese corporations signed up to this. And there are many companies claiming they are using only renewables in the future. 200 more companies are saying that, like Apple, GM, Sony, Fujitsu. And if they are doing not only themselves, but their supply chain companies to do the same. This is the demand side driven transformation. If these companies are no longer use coal, there is no future of the coal power plant. Stranded assetization in the financial sector, we always call that. Coal power plant in Japan, there are many plans to build coal power plant in Japan, but one after another, these plants are aborted. So this demand side transformation could happen much, much earlier than what we are expecting. This is very interesting chart from World Energy Act 2019. They say that demand peak of oil do not happen in the stated policy, a likely scenario, but in the sustainable scenario, it happens. And also, if electric vehicle technology be applied to SUVs, the peak demand may happen earlier. This is what the Saudi Aramco is very much worrying. I was invited 4 years ago in the Saudi Aramco's board meeting. The question by Al-Fali, that then the energy minister, was, when, Mr. Tanaka, the peak demand of oil happens? I was really surprised. Are you seriously asking this question? Yes, we are, because electric vehicle efficiency, all these things may lead the peak demand may happen much earlier. My answer to him was, maybe it's before 2030. The conventional wisdom is 2035. But Chinese expert recently I talked with him said, it may happen, in China it may happen 2025. So things is happening much, much faster than what we are happening. This is exactly the Stone Age didn't end because we ran out of stones. Oil age may end very quickly, even though there is enough of oil. And one solution for these, let's say, oil countries could be hydrogen. I recommend to the G20 how to use more hydrogen. And if taking out hydrogen from oil or coal or gas and use it as a clean fuel, and also together with CCS, maybe we may help these suppliers to avoid stranded assetization. I don't want to get into much of the African issues, but Africa is coming. That is another message of World Energy Outlook. Turkey, yes, expanding lots of gas, as the minister explained, with the marketization. That's a great story. And also renewables, Turkey is much more ahead than Japan. Japan is lagging behind because of the structural problem in the power market. But this is coming. Efficiency, yes, Turkey can do more, because this chart shows where the efficiency happens in the United States. The purple part is oil reduction through the shale. The yellow part is coming from the efficiency in the United States. This efficiency is a fuel standard. Automobile changes dramatically the demand of oil. So efficiency is a very big, as big as shale revolution. That is this chart of IEA says. Nuclear, I don't want to get, I will say some words. Yes, light water reactor was the prevailing model now, and China may continue to increase, but the cost of nuclear is rising. Very sorry to say, but because of the accident in Fukushima, safety regulations and concern of the public, not only young people, but old people, mothers, are rising. So renewable solar wind is getting so cheap. The nuclear big light water reactor, unfortunately, commercially not viable. I know Turkey is trying to build 4 reactors. Japan, out of 48 reactors, only 9 restarted because of the public concern. But to build new big reactor replacing the old one would be very, very difficult. Even for China, building nuclear reactor, the cost is much cheaper than Japan or the United States. But the cost of building renewables is much cheaper. Can China continue to build reactor is questionable. I talked with some experts and they say, well, China cannot, because there are places are limited. It is not in my backyard, happens even in China. And the cost of nuclear is only viable if we continue using the old ones. Building new one is prohibitively high, even in Europe or in the US. This is a chart from the IEA. I don't want to get too much, but another concern of the nuclear is weapon. So weaponization must be avoided, and Japan, as a non-weapon state, should lead the ground. I don't want to get in too much details, but plutonium must be controlled. Japan has 47 tons of stockpile of plutonium. We have to use it in the light water reactor as a plutonium thermal or fast reactor. And our programs is, excuse me, just. Program is the use of technology in the nuclear submarine. This is a very tricky issue, but when we face the challenge from North Korea shooting missile over us, maybe we need not a weapon, but a nuclear propulsion submarine. There are many countries in the world who have the potential of nuclear, but only 9 countries have a weapon. So the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty program, is unequal nature. The weapon states order non-weapon states not to enrich, not to reprocess plutonium. So this inequality caused lots of resentments in the non-weapon states. If non-weapon states in Japan, like Japan, may contribute to the weapon-free technology, maybe that could be the answer. And the solution is the 4th generation reactor, small modular reactor. This is what Japan is starting with. United States, integral fast reactor in the Idaho National Laboratory, which was proven passive safety and easy waste management, and also applicable to the Fukushima debris solution. So if this technology, if Japan and the US can develop, and also Korea is interested, if we develop this kind of proliferation resistant technology, maybe the small modular reactor may have a future of the nuclear. So the light water reactor's future is ending. Even Russia can provide relatively cheap and good technology, but I just think that as a non-weapon state like Japan and Turkey, we should try together to develop more promising nuclear technology in the future. That is my message. Thank you very much. I'm a little too long, but thank you.
Mr. Tanaka, thank you very much for this very stimulating and lots of good information and points to discuss for policy making. Now our next speaker is Mr. Murat Yazıcı, who also has extensive experience in energy sector about energy reforms and law. So he will introduce the Turkish perspective for energy security and sustainability. And we have 15 minutes, Mr. Yazıcı.
Good morning, dear participants. I will be talking about energy security and sustainability from the Turkish view. Due to high dependence of oil and gas imports, Turkey is in need of structural change in the energy sector. While it is important to reduce the share of natural gas in power generation and the reduction of oil imports, it is also a key issue that the reliance on oil and natural gas imports create major concerns both from the commercial and strategic perspective. To showcase where Turkey is in terms of energy security and sustainability, I will lay out the current situation in oil and gas, touch upon planned and potential improvements that and then I will move to the power generation, and in that context, the role of renewables and possible related developments and pitfalls. As of end of 2018, Turkey was importing approximately 60% of its oil needs from three countries, namely 25% from Russia, 18 and 17% from Iran and Iraq respectively. On gas, Turkey was importing approximately 7% of its natural gas needs, again mainly from three countries, being 47% Russia and 15% Iran and Iraq each. Iran and Azerbaijan each. Turkey is currently highly dependent on a couple of countries regarding the energy needs, especially on Russia for both oil and natural gas. The energy security and sustainability of Turkey could be considered through an analysis in the country's natural gas and crude oil pipelines. These are the natural gas pipelines on the slide. There are no plans for existing natural gas pipelines to expand in the foreseeable future. The capacity of Blue Stream, the Iran-Turkey pipeline, the Bakü-Tbilisi-Erzurum pipeline, there won't be any change. But as Deputy Minister explained, the western line, land line from Russia, there will be a reduction, possible reduction in the near future. However, Turkey's energy policy aims to increase its imports and transit capacity with two projects, which are Tanaka and Turkish Stream. Turkey will become an important natural gas route from Azerbaijan and Russia to Europe, and will almost double the total transit capacity of the country. Both new pipelines will contribute to Turkey's security, supply security, and allow Turkey to receive and help mitigate demand surges related to seasonality. Out of TANAP's total to 16% of natural gas, it is expected that 6 BCM will be used in Turkey for Turkey's internal consumption needs and 10 BCM to be transited to Europe. With the capacity of 31.5 BCM Turkish stream is important to Turkey for two reasons. One, to enhance the supply security by eliminating the transit countries such as Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria on the landline, and two, the strength it is possible as a transit country to gas exporting to EU. Obviously, Turkish Stream does not serve Turkey's objective to reduce its dependence on Russian gas, and the government will aim to replace natural gas imports from Russia with less expensive alternatives. However, Turkey could increase the independence between two countries on natural gas imports. As you know, the Kirkuk-Ceyhan crude oil pipeline was initially constructed to carry Kirkuk oil to global markets through Ceyhan terminal with a capacity of 1.2 million barrels per day. However, the Iraqi part of the pipeline has been damaged due to the attacks over time, and in the end it became completely unusable after ISIS attacks. As of today, the oil trade through the semi-autonomous Kurdistan regional government continues at a rate of approximately 400 barrels per day. The transit pipeline, BTC, has a capacity of 1 million barrels from Azerbaijan, Shahiniz to Ceyhan terminal. I don't want to enter into the natural gas import opportunities because my colleague Eser, as the expert, will explain them in detail, but I want to stress my personal view that the two potential alternative structures, one Kurdistan region of Iraq and the East Mediterranean region, are distressed with political, geopolitical and financial difficulties, and therefore their realization seems to be removed. In this context of increasing in energy security, Turkey is aiming also increasing its capacity with the existing LNG receiving terminals and building new floating storage and regasification units. Since this allows greater flexibility in importing and storing natural gas. Currently, Turkey operates two land terminals, energy terminals, in the northern Marmara. Currently operates with the capacity of sending out 8 BCM, and İzmir Aliya with the capacity of 6 BCM annually. It is important to increase the number of floating storage regas units from 2 to 5 within this and next year. It is expected that the current and planned facility will allow to increase LNG imports to reduce Turkey's dependence on pipeline gas imported in medium term. Gas storage in Turkey is also crucial to deal with seasonal balancing and potential supply shortages. The Turkish government is planning to more than triple Turkey's underground storage capacity at its two facilities in North Marmara, Silivri, and Tuzgölü, Salt Lake, from the current 3.4 BCM to 10 BCM by 2023. Now, I want to talk about security and sustainability of power generation. the end of the first half 2019, our electricity production was obtained from natural gas, 15%, coal, 33%, hydropower, 36%, wind, 7%, geothermal, 3%, solar, 3%, and 1.7% from other sources. There is a critical issue, as you have seen in 2010, natural gas percentage in the total power generation was around 50%, now reduced drastically. The reason behind it is the gas prices and electricity prices difference, and most of that generation had been absorbed by hydroelectric and coal generation. Turkey's strategy to ensure sustainability in power generation goes without doubt shall be driven by the development of renewable energy sources. Turkey has approximately 1,000 geothermal springs that are located all over the country. The installed capacity of geothermal as of today is 3%. Turkey is among the top 5 countries in the world in terms of geothermal power generation capacity. Considering that 78% of potential geothermal fields are still situated in Turkey as an important prospect in the developing geothermal power generation capacity. The wind energy potential of Turkey has been estimated as 48,000 megawatts. However, a recent World Bank report mentions that the Sea of Marmara and the Black Sea have a good wind speed of 7 to 8 miles per second. Fixed offshore wind turbines sitting on a stable base in the waters up to 50 meters that have a technical capacity potential to generate a total of 12 gigawatts. However, floating offshore wind farms that are tied to the seabed for stability and to reduce slip in waters of 1,000 meters has a further capacity of 57 gigawatts according to the report. Turkey's hydraulic resources, which hold the most important position in the renewable energy potential in our country, possessing a higher capacity. The other significant sustainability opportunity is the 2 nuclear plants, Akkuyu and Sinop, under construction. With 4 nuclear reactors, Akkuyu will generate 4,800 megawatts in 2026, and Sinop generation expected will be 4,480 megawatts in 2028. For the development of renewable energy resources in Turkey, it's also vital to determine the future of incentive mechanisms such as the current YEKDEM, which provides a guaranteed price instead of a free market price for the renewable energy investments for the facilities in operation until the end of the year 2020. As of today, it is still unclear if there will be an incentive mechanism to replace YEKDEM, and if so, when it will be implemented. We don't know. Long-term sectors investment through YEKA, allocation of large publicly owned land for the plantation of solar power plants can be an alternative. However, the significance of a guaranteed price, the purchase price, should not be undervalued, since it has played a central role in 2010. There was 0 in 2011, 2.1% increase to 7.2. So therefore, the guaranteed price should not be undervalued. On the whole, Turkey, like many other countries, is not energy sufficient and constantly strives to achieve price stability and sustainability. However, Turkey's proximity to major hydrocarbon exporters and Europe will continue to create opportunities for diversion of the supplies. The country's substantial renewables potential is similarly well positioned to be systematically developed. With good management, Turkey continues to provide many opportunities in the energy sector. Thank you for listening to this snapshot of energy sustainability and security from Turkish perspective.
Mr. Yazıcı, first of all, thank you for using your time very efficiently. So we are on track. I'm happy for that, and I hope everybody is enjoying these presentations. Now the floor is Mr. Eser Özdil, who is the Secretary of PETFORM, a business association for overall energy sector.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the TOBB University for inviting me. This is such a distinguished panel. Actually, I'm very much proud to be here today with you and sharing the ideas about the regional energy security perspective. Actually, I will be focusing on natural gas side because energy is quite broad field to understand. As Minister Bayraktar said that Turkey paid high attention for the supply security in natural gas, especially from infrastructure perspective and the market development side. So I will try to assess how Turkey can contribute to regional cooperation in natural gas and how this regional cooperation can facilitate the energy supply security concerns of the countries. So before going to my presentation, very briefly, I want to talk about my organization, which is PETFORM. PETFORM is an industrial organization which was established in 2000. We are a lobbying organization. We are gathering private and state-owned oil and gas companies under our umbrella. We have two industrial areas. The first one is the EMP, which is exploration and production sector. Actually, in Turkey, as you may all know, that we have quite poor resources in terms of hydrocarbons to meet our current energy demand. However, currently 40 companies are very much active in this field, and they are trying to increase the domestic oil and gas production in Turkey. The second one, the natural gas market. So in the natural gas market, we have the private gas importers and private wholesalers in the market. The current PETFORM has almost 50 members, including international super majors like ExxonMobil, BP, and the biggest Turkish conglomerates such as Enerji, Sabancı, Zorlu, and other countries. Well, as a person who is working for the private companies and the industry, I very much like the definition of International Energy Agency. I don't know who produced this definition, Mr. Tanaka, but it's well, I wish it would be you, but this definition very defining the energy security perspective very perfectly, because I studied international relations, and after the university, as the people who are coming from international relations background, we are very much intent to analyze energy security from state-to-state relations perspective, which is the one part of the coin. But on the other side, we have private sectors, investors, consumers who are the direct parameters of the energy security. The International Energy Agency defines energy security as the uninterrupted availability of the energy sources at an affordable price. So in the first concept, the energy sources should be uninterrupted, which refers to physical infrastructure and direct communication for supply. But on the other hand, it underlines the affordable prices as another very important parameter of the energy security. The affordable prices, of course, is very much important for the consumers, which brings the price security. But from supply and demand perspective, I think the countries has different understanding. If you are a buyer, the supply security and the price security is very much important for you. But if you're a seller, if you are a hydrocarbon producers, of course the demand security will be quite crucial for you with the affordable prices into the international markets. that I will be touching upon this. Because if we take the Turkish position, you can easily understand that on the east we have lots of energy producers and potential producers which are very much under the effect of the international crisis. But including Turkey and the Southeastern European countries, we are very much also affected by the international crisis. So sustainable relations between these two different parties and in conflicted interest, I think the majority, this is going to be very important to mix the interests. So very briefly about the Turkish overall energy balance. We are mostly intent to look the short-term process, but if you approach from a very long-term process, you can easily understand that Turkey's energy demand is skyrocketed, especially after the 1990s with the policies of the private investment and the economy opening process, as well as the population increase. Turkey's energy demand increased more than 170%. So this is quite huge. And when we have this energy increase, the coverage of domestic production, the total consumption also decreased almost 50%. So in 1990s we were covering more or less 50% of the domestic production. Now it is at 25% because this energy demand mostly covered by the hydrocarbon resources. As you can see, the Turkey's gas import sources mostly coming from neighboring countries as well as LNG from the international markets, and also Turkey invested a lot to ensure the physical supply security for the infrastructure. As Minister Bayraktar explained very well, after 2015, especially Turkey's investments to LNG was quite crucial to diversify the current import sources. As well as the physical gas entry capacity also was increased very substantially. I do remember very well, for example, in 2012 or 2013 winter, actually Turkey was barely covering its natural gas demand in the domestic market. But for the last 2 years, actually, we have any physical supply security concern, and moreover, Turkey is in a position to supply gas to third countries in the region because of the well-developed infrastructure. I will touch upon this point and importance in the future slides. On the physical supply side, we are pretty okay. But when it comes to price security, I think we should work on this more intensively, especially on the natural gas side perspective. On the chart, you are seeing that Turkey's overall share of energy in total imports. As you can easily see in the natural gas and the crude oil section, Turkey is paying almost $40 billion to energy imports in the average every year. So, which is almost equivalent to 20% of the Turkey's total energy imports. Therefore, I think the Turkey's major focus and Minister Bayraktar's major focus to decrease this share in Turkey's overall energy balance. Moving on from Turkey's to region-wide, I think the Southeastern Europe also in the same position more or less what Turkey has. On the chart you can see on your left. This is the prediction of the European Commission in 2014. European Commission had a gas stress test for the 2014 winter along with the Assoc to understand the current situation in the Southeastern European countries. As the result of this stress test, the major findings of the Assoc European Commission was, the first, the region is in lack of necessary gas infrastructure to connect each other. Since there is a lot of gas infrastructure, also the physical supply security was in danger. Since physical supply security was in danger and no interconnection between the states, the price security was in danger. So, as the result, the European Commission and the Assoc advised to Southeastern European countries to invest in infrastructure and diversify their resources. But even though if these Southeastern European countries and Balkan states are well connected, they have one major problem still should be figured out. This is the diversification problem. Because in the current situation, most of the Southeastern European countries are highly dependent to one source with the very low opportunity to diversify their resources. So I think with the recent investment of the Turkey, especially to LNG and the gas infrastructure, Turkey is the natural center of the gravity for the Southeastern European countries to diversify their natural gas resources. And Turkey's current LNG capacity is around 120 MCM per day, which is theoretically can regas around 40 BCM per year, and this is very well beyond the Turkey's current domestic consumption. So the Turkey's current infrastructure can also be a source for the alternative to Southeastern European countries. And actually, from my perspective, this is the only realistic source for most of the regional countries for now. From regional perspective, very briefly about the EastMed. As EastMed is drawing the attention from international outlets in these days about the gas resources. Actually, I must say, from the international perspective as well as from commercial perspective, so far in the EastMed we have very tiny resources. As you can see, the discovered resources in EastMed between 2009 and 2019, actually in the overall, the proven reserves around 3 trillion cubic meters, which is almost equivalent of the Azerbaijan. If we further understand the situation of the East Mediterranean, actually the Iran has almost more than 30 times of the current reserves. The Kurdistan region of Iraq has 2 times more reserves than the entire East Mediterranean region, and Russia has more than 25-30 folds of the current East Med reserves. So actually the East Med has some reserves, but from the international commercial realities, the reserves are quite tiny for now. Just coming to this slide directly because I'm almost finishing my time. The problem is that in the East Mediterranean region, in the Middle Eastern region, in terms of the natural gas resources, these are ample. And we have no shortage about the natural gas in these regions. But whether you have reserves under the ground doesn't necessarily mean that you will monetize these resources and you will make it. This is a different story. In the current environment, most of the upstream countries are facing investment challenges, which is the reality. As Mr. Tanaka explained very well, as Minister asked the question very rightly about the current crude oil crisis as well as the geopolitical tensions. In the current low oil prices environment and the current low hydrocarbon prices environment, which will last for the upcoming years because of the ample resources, I think the major question for the upstream industry as well as the countries will whether they will attract the necessary investments to monetize the resources or not. I think this is going to be very difficult since you have very low probability of the commercialization, and the current situation is mad about entirely commercial questions. Even though we have no political confrontation in the East Mediterranean region, since there is no real market, I think the commercial issues will be the primary question. Given the current situation in Southeastern European countries, especially in the East Med and the Middle Eastern countries, especially the Turkey's situation emerged as the catalyzing country. So if Turkey, as well as other neighboring countries, can emerge a cooperation environment, then a win-win case can be created for everyone. But if the geopolitical agendas are revealing the commercial agreements for now, I think the cooperation situation will be quite narrow for now. Thank you.